you were at this much vaunted Tony Blair conference. What happened?
I got a golden ticket, didn't I? What happened? It was like all conferences. There was some good bits. There was some bits that were a little less interesting as far as I was concerned. But for me, the interesting thing is that there are actually politicos out there who are trying to come up with some solutions and ideas. I went to an event in Doncaster recently with the Northern Tory group of MPs, and you're not necessarily going to agree with everything you hear, but I think it's good that people are actually starting to have discussions in a mature fashion about what the future of the country should look like. Because I think one of the key points that came out of the conference from several of the speakers was that we've currently got political parties who are good at campaigning, but not necessarily good at governing, not good at coming up with manifesto ideas, not good at actually doing the stuff that we've been talking about for a while now, which is strategy and planning. And so I think the conference explored an awful lot of issues that down the line will become problems for any future government. I don't think it was necessarily a forum that provided a massive number of answers, but it did lay out the challenges pretty well. Blair was also at pains to say this was not about the formation of a new political party. And actually, I think that lessons have been learned from Change UK have had a go, SDP back in the day had a go. And I think what is recognised, and certainly was recognised amongst the delegates as well on the day, is that, you know, we're not France. We don't have a proportional representation system. We don't have political parties that come and go. You've got two big established institutions in Labour and Conservative, and it's about influencing those parties rather than actually bringing a new party to the fore.
Was he trying to make this change the Labour Party back to being a Blairite party, or was he perhaps trying to change the Conservative Party, or maybe he doesn't need to change it much into being a Blairite party? Or does he not care as long as something
who's he influencing?
I think that was it. I mean, the interesting point is on Johnson's tenure, he actually said, you know, on net zero, on tax, on public spending, who can argue? What they were talking about was a more efficient way of spending cash. And a really interesting statistic that was mentioned by one of the economists who spoke was that despite all this money that we're spending, we're actually spending less on the stuff that matters. So, for example, education, skills, training, which is a massive issue and a massive problem in this country, 20% down over the last 15 years. Health and social care, up by 20%. And again, what they were saying was we've got to find smarter ways of delivering health in future. We can't simply keep saying, OK, ageing population, people getting sick, let's throw more money at the problem. And that means investment in infrastructure, investment in technology. And there was some good stuff around that. And a really interesting contribution as well on education reform. And I think you may have been surprised at how much was spoken in that conference that you guys would have gone away and said, actually, some of that is good stuff.
Well, the two things I saw that Tony Blair said in his interview, I don't know what you're... the two things I saw, one was that he was wholly opposed to all of these strikes that were going on, and which was interesting. And also, I'm pretty sure he said that there should, or there either will be or should be no overturning of Brexit, at least for a generation.
He did. You know, whatever you think of Tony Blair, he's a realist and he's pragmatic. And he recognises the mood of the country certainly isn't to reverse Brexit. Again, you know, what he was saying and others in the room was that have we taken advantage of Brexit because of all these things that we said, and cuts in VAT will be one of the first places to go. We've not really seen the benefits.
What I think I'd quite like Tony Blair to do, I mean, he is a sort of a master politician, without a doubt. But what I'd like him to do was analyse maybe where we are today through some of his policies. So whether we're talking Iraq, whether we're talking about the extension of Europe, whether we're talking about loads of quangos which people felt were infiltrated with a sort of a left-leaning sort of hierarchy. I'd like him to analyse that to see where we are today and where we go forward. Forcing through 50% through university now, they're saying 70% of young kids through university who are in big debt. And I think we need a reversal. And we haven't done the reversal of some of those things. We've carried on with them. And I think that's where the problem. And I think a lot of what we're doing now is getting out of a lot of the problems that I think he actually planted the seeds for. So, Tony, we want you on the show.